There is a kind of power that makes others fall silent in your presence. Not because you are overly strong, but because there is something within you they cannot comprehend. A strange calmness, an unshakable gaze, an aura that makes others feel they cannot be lazy around you. People call it discipline, but in truth, it is discipline that has passed through hell, where a person no longer fights the world, but their own unconscious. Most of what we call willpower is merely the product of the unconscious. We think we choose, but we are being led by habits, emotions, memories, and fears. Those who lack discipline are simply being controlled by an untrained unconscious. Those who possess true discipline do not force or prove anything because they have taught their unconscious to stand on their side. Today we will walk through the deeper layers of discipline, from the place where the fragile ego is shattered to the moment your soul is reborn in silence. You begin every journey with enthusiasm. Each new year, after reading an inspiring book, a fire ignites inside you. You make plans, promises, vows that this time will be different. But weeks later, the motivation fades, and you return to where you started. Why? How can we love our ideals so much, yet fail to live by them? The answer lies in the conflict between conscious and unconscious. The conscious part says, I want to be more disciplined. But the unconscious whispers, don't. Rest. We deserve comfort. And that part, unseen and unnamed, actually controls your life. You're not lacking energy. You stay up late scrolling online. You wake up early for flights. The problem isn't ability. It's the contradiction between two parts of your mind. One part wants to grow. The other wants safety. Before we dive deeper, if this resonates with something you've felt but never named, please hit that like button and subscribe. Your support helps this message reach other souls ready to stop fighting themselves and start becoming themselves. Level 1, facing the shadow. You cannot truly be disciplined without understanding the part of you that resists discipline. Every act of breaking your own promise begins from within. Imagine this. You set a goal to wake up at 5 in the morning to read. The first day you leap out of bed full of excitement. The second day you hesitate. The third day, the voice in your head begins to negotiate. Just for today, sleeping a little longer won't hurt. That logic is the tool of the shadow. It convinces you you're being smart when in fact you're retreating. The shadow is not a demon. It is the forgotten part of you. Laziness, fear of failure, need for comfort. When you avoid looking at these, they rule you from behind. One way to identify who sabotages you is to listen to your recurring excuses. Today's not the right time. I'll do it when I have more motivation. I should prepare better first. They sound logical, but behind them lies fear. Start by writing down the moments you've betrayed yourself, not to blame, but to recognize patterns. When you see the other within the one who's afraid, the one who delays you, begin to step into real freedom. The deepest discipline comes from understanding oneself, like a patient teacher with a mischievous student. Not punishing, but observing. Understanding, then guiding. When you look at the part of you usually avoid, you may feel fear because it holds everything you don't want to admit. Weakness, selfishness, laziness. But that moment is the threshold of true change. There is no coming to consciousness without pain. You must accept that all this time, the one breaking every promise wasn't circumstance. It was you. When you face it, the energy that used to leak through denial begins to return. You no longer have to force yourself because you're no longer divided. The shadow ceases to be an enemy. It becomes an ally. This is the beginning of true discipline, inner unification. Level 2. From trying to being. Most people think discipline is about doing something long enough to create a habit. But true discipline doesn't reside merely in action. It resides in being. As long as you are still trying, you are living in two worlds. One of the person who wants to change, and one who still doesn't believe they can. Only when you move from, "I'm trying to meditate," to, "I'm someone who meditates," does the inner war end. That is when effort turns into existence, when you no longer seek discipline, but become the living embodiment of it. You cannot live a disciplined life if deep down you still believe, "I'm not that kind of person." When the inner self is divided, every external effort becomes fragile. There are people who exercise every morning, not because they are training, but because they are the kind of people who cannot not move. They don't negotiate with sleep. They don't need motivation. When behavior becomes identity, it ceases to be choice. It is a silent rebirth, where habit is no longer duty, but the natural pulse of life. When you say, "I am a disciplined person," you're sending a command deep into the unconscious, forcing every part of the mind to align with it. Action no longer depends on emotion, but is driven by identity. And identity holds more power than any plan or technique. Picture a candle. Before it's lit, the light depends on an external flame. But when the wax melts, the flame fuses into the candle itself. It no longer needs an external source. Discipline is the same. The unconscious doesn't understand reasoning. It only understands repetition. Every repeated action is an affirmation, "This is who I am." Over time, that action ceases to be effort. It becomes instinct. So instead of asking, "How do I keep this habit?" ask, "Who am I becoming by doing this?" When identity shifts, the entire structure of life rearranges. Level 3. Transcending the body. When you've turned discipline from behavior into identity, the journey has only begun. Because beyond the mind, a stronger opponent awaits your own body. Even when the mind decides, the body resists. This is the rebellion of instinct. Every morning, the body whispers, "Just 5 more minutes." The body was designed to conserve energy, while the soul was born to transcend limits. I once heard about a woman named Clara, a 36-year-old designer in New York. For years, she lived in a cycle of exhaustion, unable to wake early, unable to keep any routine. Until one day she decided to ritualize the act. She chose 6 in the morning as her sacred hour for drawing, not for work, not for clients, but as a personal vow. The first week was torture. The second week, resistance lessened. By the 4th week, something miraculous happened. She woke before the alarm. The body, after rebelling, surrendered and rewired itself. Clara said, "I realized the body doesn't hate discipline. It just waits for a soul strong enough to lead." Every repeated action done at the same time is a way to transcend instinct. When action becomes ritual, the brain stops negotiating. There is no longer, "Should I?" only, "It's time." All energy flows directly into doing. At first, the body resists. By the 10th day, it prepares before you call. One morning you wake before the alarm. Not from discipline, but because the body has submitted to the will. At this level, discipline is no longer a fight. It is harmony. The body becomes an instrument, and the soul, the musician. Level 4. Sacred monotony. When your body has been trained to obey the soul, you enter the most uncomfortable yet sacred stage: monotony. Modern people despise repetition. We're addicted to novelty, new feelings, new information. But people will do anything to avoid facing their own soul. When you start feeling bored, it's not a sign you're on the wrong path. It's the moment your mind is being forced to face itself. Where everything feels dull, the ego begins to dissolve, and the depth of the soul opens. Most people live on the surface, mistaking novelty for growth. But change is not always evolution. Many change jobs, habits, and goals just to escape boredom, when in truth, they're running from themselves. Repetition sustained long enough erodes the ego. At first you exercise, meditate, or journal and feel noble. But after a few weeks, the feeling fades. Things become normal, even dull. No inspiration, no reward, only endless repetition. That's when most people quit thinking, I must be doing something wrong. But this is the true threshold. When action no longer brings pleasure, it reaches a deeper layer where you act not to be praised, not to improve, not to feel good, but simply because it is right. That's the death of the performer within you. Picture a man rowing a boat. When he first learns, he struggles to balance fears hitting rocks. But after enough time, his hands become part of the oar. He no longer controls the river. He flows with it. That is how form becomes freedom. I once heard the story of a professional ballet dancer in Berlin. For 15 years, she practiced the same sequence every morning. Small, repetitive, almost boring motions. Some days she hated everything, but she never stopped. One day, while spinning, she felt time freeze. No music, no self, only pure movement. She said she no longer felt she was turning, but being turned by something greater. She realized that within endless repetition lies a sacred kind of freedom. Freedom from ego, from comparison, from the hunger for results. The fear of boredom is the ego's strongest defense. When you feel bored, the ego is no longer being fed by progress. It will whisper, change direction, find something new. But if you can stay within the repetition, you'll discover something miraculous. Monotony becomes sacred. Because when the mind has nothing left to resist, it dissolves. When the will stops chasing outcomes, it merges with the process. In each of us, there is another whom we do not know. Monotony is the road to meet that other. Level 5, the unbroken flow. If repetition is the gateway to freedom, then maintaining the flow is how you protect that freedom. The human soul is like a river, sometimes narrowing, sometimes drying. But what matters is that it never stops flowing. When you stop even for a day, you're not merely resting. You're allowing the old self to seep back in. True discipline is not about strength, it's about continuity. Rest is natural. It restores energy while the inner flow continues. Disconnection is when you step out of that state of being and fall back into old patterns. A lazy day may seem harmless, but if it seeps into your flow, it clouds the whole river. I once heard of an artist in Florence who for 20 years went to the banks of the Arno River every morning to sketch the sky. Not to sell, not to post, but because it was how she met herself. Rain or shine, she went. When asked why she never skipped, she said, "If I skip one day, the painting inside me stops too." True discipline is not perfection. It is non-interruption. Every time you continue, even under the worst conditions, you're sending a signal to your unconscious. I am the one who doesn't stop. Once the unconscious believes that your energy sustains itself, 1 minute of practice is better than a day of regret. One paragraph is stronger than a blank page. As long as you keep moving, you're still winning. Serena Williams became known not just for talent, but for her ability to return after every fall. Injured, pregnant, doubted. She still trained even if only 15 minutes a day. She said, "If I stop for one day, I have to start again like everyone else. I'm not afraid to lose. I'm afraid to stop." Movement creates readiness, not the other way around. There is no perfect morning, no ideal mood. Only small actions sustained long enough to become a natural flow. Level 6, preparing before battles. There is a level of discipline called active imagination. where consciousness not only governs, but trains the unconscious. At this level, you no longer wait to feel inspired. You teach your mind how to respond before circumstances arise. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. That applies to the meeting between your consciousness and unconscious. Every time you write down situations that might make you give up, you are training the hidden soldiers of your inner army. So when the enemy strikes, they already know what to do. Imagine a woman in crisis, work piling up, a sick child, her health declining. Each morning she writes down every reason that once made her quit. Then she adds a line for each. If I'm tired, I will meditate for 1 minute. If I'm busy, I will take 3 deep breaths. Not to force herself, but to pre-program her reactions. Weeks later, when a truly difficult morning comes, she doesn't panic. Her hand instinctively rises to her chest. She inhales deeply and sits for 1 minute. No thought intervenes. She simply operates from a reflex already installed. Research shows that when people predetermine their response to triggers, their success rate increases by up to 91%. The brain no longer wastes energy making decisions in crisis. The decision has been packaged inside the unconscious. This is where consciousness becomes the commander through strategy. Write down every reason you've used to give up and attach a replacement response. As you repeat this, you're reprogramming your nervous system. This is psychological alchemy. Every time you choose to react differently, you reshape the neural pathways, reigniting the inner fire. The primal vitality awakened when consciousness and unconscious move as one. When the journey completes, a part of you has died. The weak one, the negotiator, the excuse maker, and a new part is born, unbroken, unwavering. This is the death and rebirth of the self. This level of discipline frightens others, not because you are harsh, but because you are untouchable. You no longer act from motivation. You act because your soul has chosen the path. Only that which is truly oneself has the power to heal. And discipline at its deepest level is the return to that authenticity. No longer forced behavior, but absolute loyalty to your soul. I remember the story of a woman named Elias, a 42-year-old mountaineer from Switzerland. She once fell nearly 20 meters down a cliff and was told she would never climb again. But Elias refused to accept it. Every day, even with crutches, she went to the nearby hill just to watch others climb. A year later, she began training again. Not to prove anything, but because she knew that if she didn't live that way, she would no longer be herself. She said, "I don't train to climb mountains. I train because my soul only lives when it climbs." 2 years later, Elias returned to the same cliff. She climbed slowly. No cameras, no audience. At the summit, she stood silently beneath the sky. Later, she wrote, "I no longer need to win. I just need to return to my own flow." At that level, discipline is no longer effort. It is a state of being where you are no longer separate from the act, but identical with it. In the early stages, you practice discipline to change yourself. In the final stage, you practice to sustain your soul, like the flame in ancient Greek temples, not roaring yet never extinguished. The guardian of that flame isn't the strongest person, but the one who never abandons their post. Every day they perform one simple task, adding oil to the lamp. That smallness keeps the light alive for thousands of years. That is the most beautiful metaphor for discipline. Not climbing the highest peak, but keeping the flame burning through the longest night. True discipline is not about resisting fatigue. It's about letting fatigue pass without interrupting your action. At this level, you no longer live on motivation. Motivation is the wind. Discipline is the root. Those who live by the wind must keep searching for it. Those who live by the root can stay still and still grow. Once your soul has chosen a path, you need no reason to continue. Every step becomes a silent prayer to the sacred within you. This understanding of Carl Jung, empath, and personal development reveals something profound about human transformation. When we integrate every fragmented part of ourselves, when shadow and light unite, we stop fighting our nature and start flowing with it. Look back on the journey. You've gone from facing the shadow to turning behavior into identity, to transcending the body, to passing through monotony, to maintaining flow, to preparing before battles, and now to rebirth. Every part of you that once feared, resisted, or fled is now quiet. Not because it disappeared, but because it has been integrated into a new order where every conflict becomes energy for stability. This is individuation, the journey of becoming yourself. But in the context of discipline, it is integration, the unification of every part within. Here, will is no longer something you use against instinct, but the current flowing through instinct. Discipline is no longer a choice, it is how your soul breathes. A man who has not passed through the inferno of his passions has never overcome them. And the one who hasn't died in the journey of discipline can never be reborn as a free soul. So the final question is not, are you disciplined? But, are you ready to let the old self die? Discipline at its deepest is not a chain that binds man, but the art of leading the soul back to its true orbit. Those who reach this state no longer need to talk about goals or effort. They simply act, and their stillness makes the world pause to watch. They don't race anyone, for they have already conquered themselves. They don't need admiration, for their greatest reward is the serenity of living in alignment with the soul's chosen path. Such a person does not need motivation to rise each morning. They are awakened by an inner calling. They don't need reminders to strive, because maintaining discipline is no longer an action, but a breath. And that breath, steady, quiet, enduring, becomes the silent music that plays amid a chaotic world. This journey through Carl Jung, empath, and personal development shows us that true transformation isn't about becoming someone else. It's about removing everything that isn't truly you. Every layer of pretense, every mask of fear, every habit born from unconscious programming. When these fall away, what remains is your authentic self, undivided, unshakable, free. The scariest level of discipline is not the one that demands the most suffering. It's the one that asks you to stop lying to yourself, to face every part you've hidden, to integrate every shadow you've denied, to become so honest with your soul that pretending becomes impossible. And when you reach that place, something miraculous happens. You stop trying to be disciplined. You simply are. The question disappears. The struggle ends. And what's left is a life lived in complete alignment with who you truly are. This is the path of Carl Jung, empath, and personal development at its most profound level. Not self-improvement, but self-realization. Not building discipline, but discovering it was always there, buried beneath layers of conditioning. If you feel this truth, if something within you whispers that perhaps it is time to return, to rebuild your essence, to teach the unconscious, to stand with the soul, then the journey has already begun. Share this message with someone searching for their strength. Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the next lessons on depth psychology and transformation. Because true discipline doesn't just change habits, it awakens the soul. And when that happens, nothing in this world can break you again.